The brothers Wisp. The brothers Wisp, brothers Wisp. The brothers Wisp. The brothers.
You're now listening to Greg. It's the Brothers Wisp. Let's take
Hey
a
everybody,
ride through
this
space
is
on
Greg
this
Soul from
mothership.
Texas with the Brothers Wisp number 100. 100, boys. We made it. Now we can all retire. We've been there. We've seen it. Got the t-shirts. No, today we have, it is jam-packed with faces. Look at all these faces. So I'm going to start up here in my upper right. We've got Alex Hart.
Hello.
Where are you at, Alex?
Portland, Oregon.
Not Seattle anymore. You're still a hipster, just not in Seattle. That'll work. All right. No comment. Then we've got Tom Smith down there. Where are you at, Tom?
I'm in Dublin, Ireland, best country in the world, but not at rugby.
God, you have the worst fake Irish accent. Everybody knows that you're in Indiana. Come on. All right. And then
It's true.
today we also have right here next to me, like we're like button heads, we've got Justin Miller.
Hi,
Say the words. Where are you from?
Richmond, Virginia.
Excellent. And then just keep trucking over, and then you see Thomas Kiernak. Where you at, bud?
Hello. Košice, Slovakia, Middle Europe.
All right. Always
All
bragging.
the locations.
Thrift. Easy to pick out. Guy with the amazing hair. What's up, bud?
Thanks, Greg. Stuff and things, talking to you jokers.
All right. Where are you at?
I'm in Brisbane in Australia.
Aw. Kiwi at heart. Down below, we've got Andrew Cox.
Hello. Melbourne, Australia.
All right. And then who's that sitting with you? New friend, new face.
You can introduce yourself, I think.
Serena and also from Brisbane, visiting Andrew.
Briz Vegas. How do you know Andrew? What's the story there?
I know Andrew because he provides support to the Woodford Festival, which is a large festival held over Christmas, New Year, and we run Mikrotik gear.
Rock and roll. So why are you still associated with Andrew? That's the real question.
It's probably because of Tess.
Oh, she's the tie that
Truth
binds.
comes
Of
out.
course. It's all right. I run a second in most of those races as well. But as long as you're in the race, that's all that matters. So excellent. All of these faces. We've also got a ton of new patrons this week. And for those that don't know, you go to patreon.com/brotherswisp. You throw us some bones, and you get access to a patron-only Slack. Not only are you supporting my Coke addiction, but you're also getting access to a lot of amazing people with a lot of great opinions that don't talk as fast because they're not, juiced up like me right now. But this week we had Elijah, we had Mark Whitfield, we had Richard Good or Good. There's an E on the end of his name. I'm gonna say Good. Goody. Maybe it's Goody. He probably doesn't want to hear me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Then we've got Zachary Biles, we've got Joe Novak, and we've got JJ McGrath. A lot of new faces, man. I get super juiced when I see all these faces in there. All this new meat, these new fish in the yard. It's fun. I love the juxtapositions, the different viewpoints. It's a lot of good stuff. So, front matter. Is a term I heard recently, and catching up. So last cast, we talked about route caching and why that was important to have gone away now. And Michael Ducharme, again, that guy swoops in, sends me a novel about all the details on these things, and he basically said it comes down to stale routes that are cached in your router. So his example was he had a few /29s configured on his router. Well, he added a /24 that encompassed that whole subnet, get rid of the /29s. Well, the Mikrotik in the route cache still had the network and broadcast address for those old entries cached in there. And so anybody who got assigned those IPs just mysteriously didn't work. And this was, I think he said something like 2 months after he had deleted those IPs off the router. So it really hangs out in the cache. So I can definitely, before I was a little bit confused why that would be problematic, and now I 100% see why that would be problematic. Is that all there is to it, Thrift, or is there more?
No, that's pretty much bang on. I've seen it countless times, usually on high traffic routers or routers with larger route tables in service provider environments where you're adding and moving subnets around the place. It's a major issue. I've also seen it with LDP label, MPLS labels. They must be cached as well, so you'll get stale labels when subnets change and things move around. It's pretty horrible to diagnose. So I'm going to be very happy when route cache goes away.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine something you deleted 2 months ago is still hanging out in there. And I mean, how would you figure that out? He said it's an easy fix. You just reboot it, which is easy for all of us with these in the cores of our networks, right? Just
Yeah, there's a couple of other ways. If you're running things in VRF, so you can disable the VRF and then enable it again, that'll often fix it. Or you can flush the entire route table. It sometimes fixes it because it'll overwrite the cached entry. But yeah, rebooting it is the easiest way. It's
It's a
horrible.
pain too, because if you're seeing updates from other providers that you're not even aware of the changes that are going on there, and then those addresses start being used.
Well, that's
all you hear is customers going, "I can't access this address," and you're like, "A restart fixes it, but why did it happen?"
a bad cat.
Yeah.
Just a bit of holy water. Just throw it on the roof.
just put water. You're advocating just dumping water right on your
Absolutely,
router.
at least a gallon.
Holy
You've
water.
got to christen them.
You could do it American Baptist style. Just you healed and you just bam, just dunk them in there.
So that
The
stale
thing-
route cache, does that affect all major brands? Or
Anything using a kernel before, I think it's 4.7 or somewhere around there where they fixed it. Might even be earlier. Oh no, it's 3.16 where they fixed that problem. So yeah, anything before that is going to have it. A lot of vendors patched around it, but basically the proper fix is just to stop using the route cache. The problem with Mikrotik when you do that is you lose fast path and fast track. So you have to consider that as well.
See, the interesting part to this is that this more, at least by the description of what people are seeing, sounds like a FIP issue rather than a route cache issue, right? Because the route cache does or caches routing decisions based on those source destination hashes, right? And so normally the router would not make a source destination hash out of a broadcast address, right? Because it doesn't forward traffic for the broadcast address.
The problem in router OS 6.0 is there is no separate fib. It is one.
Yeah, but I mean, there is a difference or do you mean that the route cache is integrated into the FIP?
It is, yes. Yep. So all route lookups go straight into the route cache, and then the fib makes decisions based on that. So when subsequent packets come in, they'll just look up the route cache, and then the decision will be made based on the route cache entry.
Yeah, but the route cache entry is cached based on the source destination pair, right?
That's right.
So this still doesn't really fit according to the descriptions, because if you are saying that all traffic for a particular destination doesn't work, only source destination pairs go into the route cache. So if
Correct.
there would be no cached entries for those lost connections. So this doesn't really sound like a route cache issue, rather like a FIP issue, like a FIP, wouldn't actually flush the entries for those subnets, because
No,
route cache does a different job, right?
It does and it doesn't, because as I said, they're one in the older kernel. So typically where you'll see it is where you've got devices behind it that are using NAT. So all of the devices are using a common source and destination address, and you'll see it will take a path that was active months ago, even though it's no longer the valid path. And the RIB in Router OS will show you the correct path, but it will just not take it.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's an issue of not flushing the route cache, but at the same time not updating the
Correct.
FIP.
It's both, yes.
Right?
Yep.
Is it because the route
So
cache
it's
is
more
still
than
sitting in
just the
there?
route cache.
Yeah. Interesting.
that sounds like a terrible problem to have to troubleshoot.
Yeah.
Everything says this is what it's doing, and
Yeah.
it's not doing that.
And you have no
how do you
visibility to
discover it
that
through...
internal mechanism, right? Like in a Cisco device, I can look up every individual piece of that routing process, right? I can look at the RIB, I can look at the FIB, I can look at all those individual things. But in, I guess, Router OS, that's all
Well, I think there's
hidden from us.
even
And
there'll be other aspects of
So-
Router OS.
For
I'm
now.
not going to start bashing it too much, but even just like routing 101, or networking 101, where adding and removing ports from a bridge can, suddenly have an unusual behavior where configuration should work, doesn't, and you're like, I just added a port or removed it from a bridge, and you add it to a different bridge or something like that, and then suddenly it's not working, and then suddenly you reboot it and everything's fine, everything works as configured.
Mm.
And for now, but that's
For now.
I think it's when you can't. It is an issue, and it's not. Look, it's not only just Mikrotik, but not being able to trust what you're seeing. It's kind of like the Boeing pilots in the 737, where they're like, "I told the plane not to dip," and it's like, "Why the fuck's he dipping all the time?" It's that type of. If you don't have the faith in your controls or your instrumentation, it can cause serious problems. And where you start then rebooting things, where it's actually a network administrator's error, but you're kind of default thinking, "Oh, it's the OS is just misreading the instrumentation is wrong on the OS, so I'll just reboot it and it'll all correct itself." Then it's like, "Oh no, some guy didn't plug in the interface," That I find frustrating, and that's one aspect of Mikrotik at the core that I don't miss, since moving.
Mm.
I like to think of it as router roulette. You never quite know what you're going to get. It keeps things interesting. What do they say? Variety is the spice of life. You just spice
Not
things
at the
up.
core, not your core.
You need to change your perspective.
Life's too short.
The thing with
This is
that,
what happened
though,
to Greg. I was going to say, this is what happened to Greg. His hair went grey, and then it all fell out due to too many of these.
Did it fall out or did he pull it out?
A little bit of both.
Yeah. So you're doing a packet capture, or you're looking at traffic flows or whatever, and you just see the traffic's there, and then it just dies, and you're like, "Oh, that's weird," and then you just assume that it's a route cache problem and reboot, see if it fixes it. Like, how do you resolve this? Sanely.
We used packet captures in Torch and could see where it was going, and then we contacted Mikrotik and looked on the forums, and there were a lot of people having the same problem. So it became pretty obvious in what was going on. Yeah.
I think maybe perhaps the same analog to this would be like in Cisco you have Ceph,
Yep.
and Ceph has fast forward, fast IP, and different technologies. So I think perhaps for somebody who doesn't understand Mikrotik, the best analog to this would be as if Ceph was malfunctioning because entries in the CAM were not being updated properly. So on the control plane you see everything being nice and dandy, but on the forwarding plane in Ceph and in DCAM, things just don't do what they are supposed to do.
Yeah, the trick is with Cisco, you can look at the TCAM tables and the rib,
Yeah.
and you can look at every portion of it, and you can do debugs on all
that's
of it.
the
as well.
trick.
In version 7 already you can spit out the forwarding table.
Oh,
So
good.
they have separated them.
That's ball.
Separated, and you have introspection into what's actually happening. Well,
That's
hopefully.
Yeah. It's still. I mean, we're at 7 beta 3, right? So it's just barely out in the wild. It still seems weird to say it, but yeah, it's out in the wild to a certain degree or another.
Speaking
Actually, I
of version
think that's-
7, I'm pretty impressed with the number of architectures that are supported already.
Yeah. So was I. I was amazed to see PowerPC was supported.
Yeah.
Why does that surprise you?
Because that's one where the vendor had definitely dropped support for the chipsets in the RB1100 AH, AHX2, and RB1200. Just support's completely gone, so I'm not sure what Mikrotik did there. Maybe it's because they're running an older 4.4 kernel, I'm not too sure, but it works.
Interesting. I would hate to see them get locked into another older kernel where they couldn't
Right.
move forward. That would be unfortunate. Hopefully that's not the case. So speaking of version 7, while we're there, Mikrotik version 7, you've been doing some testing, right? Thrift?
Oh yeah, testing's a pretty loose term there. I fired it up on a bunch of routers, just an old RB1100 AHX2, RB3011, and also on a cloud-hosted router, and just gone through the CLI and Winbox to try and see what changes are obvious. And I think we mentioned this earlier, but you can see the forwarding table is now being separated out. A lot of the more interesting stuff like OSPF and BGP and that, and EPLS is still missing. So I guess the meat of the changes that are coming in Router OS 7 are not even there yet. So it's pretty underwhelming, I guess, if you're hoping to see a whole bunch of new stuff. But it shows the direction that they're heading, and I think it's really just a test release for Mikrotik to make sure that it is stable on the hardware that they've got, and then they'll start piling features on top of it.
And you were heartbroken when they removed torrents,
Torrents.
It was like a small victory for me, mate.
Do they have Samba in there still?
Yeah, it's still there, unfortunately.
I hear the Bitcoin miner will be in 7.1, so...
That's got to be a great way to troubleshoot, though, if the core software is solid, if you aren't adding all the other components that you're working on. If that's good to go, it's easy to add on other things and have less to troubleshoot when there's problems.
That's right. The other thing I did notice that Mikrotik was saying is there's going to be a reduced number of packages. So there's going to be a main system package, and then there's only going to be a handful, like 3 or 4 extra packages or optional packages to change the functionality of RouterOS.
That's not necessarily. That's not necessarily a good thing, like, because it means that they're just, they're not like compartmentalizing. Like, so SMB is in the main system package, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wonderful. Well done, guys. Good call.
That should be on every core router.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think of like
enabled by default.
Like even I mean, if you get an ASR 9000 from Cisco in their iOS XR code, there's a bunch of stuff in there. I think like Telnet is in there, but it's off. You actually have to tell it to enable, right? So there's a lot of core components that are there. They're just, functionally entirely disabled until you tell it to turn on.
That's a decent approach, especially with comment. Like Telnet could come in handy, so not having to load that or do something that requires a restart.
Yeah.
If you can just turn it on the fly to use it.
Well, I mean, theoretically, you could load up an ASR and forget to put the K9 package that allows for SSH, and you've got to put that router in production in 3 days. I mean, just hypothetically, you forget to do that.
Nobody would actually do that.
No. It would never happen. Obviously, I speak in hypotheticals a lot, and you want to be able to remotely access this thing and back it up with Unimis, even though Unimis will never support Telnet. Right, Thomas? I seem to remember that. Was that, or did I dream that?
Yeah, community pressure, man. Yeah, we just gave in and did it.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta do the dirty.
It's like, you're silly, but we'll allow this.
So while we're talking about testing Mikrotiks and stuff like that, one of the entries I had in here was somebody put out an article. It was blog.croy.io. He was talking about Battle of the Virtual Routers, and I think he was doing all of his testing on Proxmox. And somebody was asking, hey, do I need to worry about this? Because Mikrotik was showing some fairly inefficient numbers there compared to, I think, just Debian and FRR and Viata and things like that. And Thrift had a pretty decent insight on why Mikrotik wouldn't be running as efficiently in Proxmox as it would, say, VMware, right?
Yeah, so the reason for that is that RouterOS version 6, even the latest version of 6, is still running a 3.16 kernel, which came out in August 2014, which is pretty early days for the KVM hypervisor which Proxmox uses. So the drivers that are in it, e.g. the VirtIO net drivers that are used by RouterOS on Proxmox, are really ancient and they're missing a lot of features. So in particular, the features they're missing are called VirtIO queues, and those queues inside the virtual machine will allocate a virtual CPU core per TX and RX, they'll allocate a TX and RX cube on the NIC per CPU core, which means that the traffic ingestion by the virtual network interface is spread across the multiple virtual CPU cores. At the moment, it goes into a single queue. It's all bottlenecked, and that's why RouterOS version 6 inside KVM is so slow. If you use the VMXNet 3 drivers or the Hyper-V drivers, they do support multi-queue, so you'll see huge improvements in performance even on RouterOS version 6. I haven't tested version 7 yet, but because it's using a 4.4 kernel, a much newer kernel, it should be a lot faster, and that's why Vieta and the likes are so much faster.
And the other thing is, they don't support SRIOV. They tried that out as well on Proxmox.
Yep.
And it's a pity. particularly like with the, let's say, the Intel 7, the X710s, all that type of hardware.
That was the first thing I tested on version 7 actually, Tom. So with version 7 running SRIOV, it doesn't work at all. If you do a full PCI Express pass-through, like pass the entire NIC through to the virtual machine, the i350s and so on will work. But Mikrotik definitely have it on their roadmap to add the SRIOV virtual functions in the next few months. Yeah.
Do you feel like they would be disincentivized to add all that stuff, right? If you could have a really banging router, because it sounds like version 7 is gonna it sounds like it's gonna be bananas on an actual dedicated piece of server hardware. Is that gonna disincentivize you from buying router boards, you think?
I think they used to think of it that way, but the reality is, if you're running an AWS or Google Compute or any of those platforms, and you want your cloud Mikrotik to perform at a high level, it needs those drivers in there. So it needs the Mellanox Connect X3 drivers, it needs the virtual function Intel drivers, because people who are running these things in the cloud need that performance, and if Mikrotik want to continue growing their market share in that space, they're going to need to add those drivers.
Also, I think most people, at least prior to version 7 doesn't exist, right? It doesn't exist. But in the long ago, in the before time, I think people were really looking at server-based infrastructure because if they were trying to do high numbers of BGP routes, right, it was really the only functional way to do that. But it sounds like in version 7, the existing hardware is going to have, a brand new life as far as BGP peering goes, right? So I think people will still want the high port densities that the router board gives you. It seems like they're always going to focus on those router boards for driver support and things like that, right? So you'd probably get a better experience on those router boards. And if they really fix all the BGP stuff, I see people still wanting to buy a dedicated, and also, right, it's going to use less power. It's going to consume less space to use a router board, so.
Yeah, for edge deployment, definitely I think that buying physical router boards is the way to go. You click the order button, it turns up, you put your config on it, and you go. Whereas if you're doing it with a CHR, you need a physical server to put it on, you need to muck around with network interfaces and passing them through. So for 90% of the market, it's going to be easier to just run a cloud core router or something similar. It's really just for people who want to do network function virtualization and run things in the cloud that they're going to want the CHR with this driver support.
For sure.
Baltic has a new Vengeance box, which is pretty cool. It's got 40 gig NIC ports and 25 gig NIC ports. And it runs ESXi and CHR when you buy it, so that's an easy option. It also has redundant power supply.
Gotcha.
So I was looking at that for our new Edge.
You probably
seemed like a good upgrade.
Also, in my head, you probably don't want to. Oh, hey, go reboot the router. You probably don't want to pull the power on a Vengeance and then shove it back in, right? Whereas like a router board, you could do that 10 times a day for the next 5 years, and it's not going to care.
Well,
but you shouldn't have to, Greg.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to. And the other thing is, you can just log into the ESXi console and reboot. So you've got OOB management, better OOB management out with the ESXi setup. And it's actually one of the reasons why we did it was that have the out-of-band management go into a console and see that lovely screen dump when things happen that you don't want to happen.
Well, you get that with serial with the hardware.
Yeah, but you need a serial console server, and you need to be organized.
You gotta be organized.
a little planning helps.
A little bit of planning, but that's where ESXi and all those types of setups are. Proxmox KVM it works. And, you can use other people's management functions to make up for other management functions that don't function sometimes.
Talking about physical routers here, so if you buy a Juniper MX204 or a Juniper QFX or ACX, they're actually just an Intel Xeon CPU running KVM, and Junos is actually running inside a virtual machine on those. which means that they can patch it with minimal risk of bricking the actual underlying router. They can also do high availability or failover within a single device, and you get a bunch of other functionality there, which is just amazing. It makes it so much easier for the vendor, and it's a bit harder to understand as the end user. But once you get your head around it, it's a pretty good tech. And you can also capture all those crash logs and debug logs because you've got them there in the hypervisor. And these are physical boxes that'll do hundreds of gigabits of throughput, because they just communicate between the fib and the virtual machine, and it loads the routes into the fib and off it goes.
What do you think about
that? Could be another reason to motivate Mikrotik into doing something similar.
That's right.
Maybe that is how they get the PowerPC going.
What do you think about that software redundancy thing? I know, like, Cisco and some of their, I think it's the ASR 1000 models, have like a software redundancy option built in. I was just curious about that. So I always, we do insane SLAs on our customers inside the data center. So I've always gone chassis, multiple supervisor, right? Just, it's potentially my job depends on that router staying up. And if it doesn't, I got to answer for it. So I've always thought, I could spend an extra couple grand and I can get supervisor redundancy versus that software stuff. I don't know. Do you think other people are in that same mindset? Is it like a cost savings measure, or do you really feel like it's mature enough?
I would definitely be in that same mindset, but when you buy a fixed form factor box like a ASR 9901 or ASR 1002 or any Juniper MX204, 104, you've got limited options there, so it gives you some redundancy. And even on the boxes with supervisor modules, those supervisors are now running KVM and then running the routing software inside that.
Yeah, it kind of broke my brain the first time I upgraded an ASR 9000. It's basically you're patching an operating system. You're not just putting a new iOS version rebooting anymore. So it's definitely a different shift. It's like a shift. It's a mental shift, which I like it. It's pretty cool.
Can it run Doom?
It might. I know.
SCI has an LCD panel. You should try this one.
The other place that the CHR will never, I shouldn't say never, but as far as the argument of Mikrotik saying, hey, we don't want our hardware business to be degraded by making CHR perform well. Well, maybe that motivates them to offer other hardware like their switches and their wireless. They can focus on the other platforms that still get you to buy the hardware, but you've standardized on the Mikrotik operating system, so you can use the CHR at the core to get your routing functionality high performance, and then you're still using that same vendor for other hardware in the stack, right?
I can't speak for Mikrotik, but I would assume that they've got past that whole mindset of it's eroding their hardware market share. I think in the first quarter that they offered the CHR on Amazon, they pulled in 20 million euros from it, or something crazy. So yeah,
they felt pretty good about it.
I'm sure they did.
Like, sort of going off the way that Juniper and these others are doing it, then everything they're contributing towards the CHR at the moment leads towards them being able to do the same thing, having a KVM system that is redundant and fault tolerant, that then sits on top of the hardware control plane where they can push all those changes down. They now have that platform. It's just building it into a box that does
what you're saying
gig or 400 gig.
Is we're beta testers for their next gen hardware with the CHR stuff.
You always have been beta testers.
Every piece of
guys,
software.
version 7 is not even out yet, and you were already asking for things for version 8. I think that's...
Look, we sat on version 7 requests for so long, like we've got to get in early now.
Oh, that had to be.
So we're thinking instead of the CHR running on your own hardware, perhaps they'll have a new CCR that's, got 100 gig ports, and we're running CHR on it, and everybody wins, right?
I think it would come like pre-installed, and your updates and everything would be abstracted away somewhat, because you don't want to have to sort of manage the two separate layers. But why couldn't they? Like it's what other companies are doing. It's what seems to work for the MX204s, for example. We've got 2 of those in our Brisbane core at the moment. So they're moving forward with integrating all the switch chip features and things like that. So just keep going down that path and give us something with 100 gig interfaces.
Yeah.
They've also done a great job with getting the dual power supplies in all their boxes and standardizing the ports so there's no weirdness with the block diagram, and making the power supplies modular, and they've got a lot of the hardware stuff that they're working towards.
One thing that tweaks my OCD is different models of brand new Mikrotik routers will have different serial console ports on them. So there's new routers coming out with DB9 ports, while others have got RJ45s. Just go to RJ45.
Just go RJ45.
Yeah,
Make it
across the
fine.
board.
Everybody's got a Cisco console cable. Just stick to it.
And I'll have the console port facing forward.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
But that
Facing
said,
forward.
they're not the only vendor who's guilty of that.
No.
Switch, you make good.
The reason it's oh, sorry, Tom.
Yeah, go on.
The reason it grinds my gears is because if you're connecting it to a serial console server for logging or out-of-band access, that DB9 to RJ45 adapter pushes it out so far that generally the door of the rack will hit the cable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just bad positioning and setup from day one, so it's your fault anyway.
The other thing that's annoying with the
Not
DB9 is having to deal with unique pinouts. You just do the console cable RJ45 and we're done. Everybody has the same pinout.
Pretty much.
If Mike was here, he'd want SFP.
SFP console port? Yeah, for sure.
Who is it? Is it Arista or someone that does the USB port serial? Like you just
No,
connect
that's
the USB.
Oh, there's a
Cisco
lot of
with
Cisco
that,
stuff
too.
that has it
Cisco have
too.
it.
Aruba.
Yeah, a few
Cisco
vendors have
have it.
tried that.
Yeah, I don't want to
I
do
hate
USB
it
either.
because you have to have the drivers and all that crap. Just forget it.
Yeah.
The
Well,
RJ
Mikrotik
port.
they came out with a WOMP or whatever it was. It was
The
a
WOMP.
USB wireless thing you
Yeah.
stick in, and then you
Whoop-boom.
get on
Whoop.
that, and then it's like
Whoop-boom.
webpage telnet essentially.
The other thing that would be nice is going along the SFP joke. RJ45, right, for your console port for serial. That's great. The other thing that would be nice is if they did out-of-band Ethernet management right on the device.
Well, you need proper VRFs for that, Alex.
Sure.
Well, no, you could have a separate system on chip. I think what Alex was referring to is separate
Well, you want like a
Yeah,
tracker
truly
on
out-of-band,
these
but
things?
on the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that has access to the serial, has access to the power,
Mhm.
which is a separate component. Like
Yeah.
Well,
Like a-
not
like
shared
an
with the
ILO or a
NSA, though.
DRAC sort of stuff.
Integrated
No
lights
IPMI.
out chipset.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No IPMI. So that it's just you and not you plus a government
The
power.
year is
Having access.
2050. RouterOS version 8 has been released.
Of course, the only problem with those IPMI things is they tend not to get security updates applied to them
Oh,
firmware-wise
yeah.
and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's kind of that's.
And they
there's-
run Java
Keep
1
them off the internet.
Yeah, but you don't
Java
want to
1.4
expose that to the
to
internet
connect.
anyway.
Just because you say you don't want to doesn't mean 10,000 people aren't going to do it. So,
Yeah.
Well, apparently SMB was a needed feature in RouterOS.
Maybe
And
what
to
you
the
need to
two
realize
people
is
who
that
asked for
as they release features, you need to figure out how to integrate them into your lifetime, not the other way around.
Look, I always wanted a USB 2.0 media server for my home. Totally.
Oh, yeah.
And it should be prioritized over routing updates.
It's 3.0 now, isn't it? On the 4011s?
Oh,
It's 3.0 now. 4011 has 3.0, I believe.
okay.
Boom. Waboom.
Boom.
Does
And
anyone
using
else want
boom.
to talk about 3.0 support? On
Let's just move on.
Yeah, let's keep trucking. All right. So,
Did you? Speaking about 100 gig ports, did you all hear about Akamai's recent traffic passing benchmark, or not benchmark, but their what is it, 106 terabytes a second across their network?
was that the
That they
the
pushed?
Fortnite update?
Yeah.
So it was the Fortnite END event, right, where they had the black hole or something, and then everybody had to do a massive patch? somebody put notes in here. I'm not sure who put the notes in here for it. They said it was 1.5 million Twitch concurrent viewers. Mixer crashed, apparently. That's fun. And Mixer's what, the Microsoft alternative to
So
Twitch?
Microsoft has been paying big money for big name streamers to move to Mixer, right? And well, those streamers, of course, bring their audience with them. And so Shroud, Shroud and Ninja and other.
It worked for
really
Ninja. I saw he had a lot of good numbers.
Yeah, now Shroud also actually got paid off by Microsoft to move, but
paid off.
It seems that well, I mean, of course, why else would they do it?
Are you
right?
insinuating they sold out?
It
So
love.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, as you can see, Mixer still has some growing pains, right? Because during the Fortnite event there were multiple crashes and Mixer was going in and out of service, and
Man, but can you, you all have tons of traffic on your networks, right? But can you imagine 106 terabits per second? That's insane. That's a lot of traffic.
Yeah, but I think they're just adding up all their edge capacity.
Yeah, probably everything.
Really,
Sure,
it's
that's
like a load of
it's CDN, but
It's
still.
not a real network.
it's not like there's one router going into 106 terabits.
Oh, but we were actually talking of this. I think it was last podcast or the two before as well. It's funny because you can see the effect of just a huge game patch, and there were posts all around Facebook and different network operator groups, and people were posting screenshots of going from 2 gigabits of traffic at peak the day before to 17 gigabits at peak the day during the patch release, and it's very interesting to see wide scaling network effects of patch releases these days. And if you compare the streaming platforms into this and how they Twitch, so this was actually 2 concurrent records in 2 months. So the highest concurrent viewer count on Twitch was broken, what was it, month and a half ago for the Vol Classic release, and now just a month and a half later we get another 1.5 million concurrent viewers record. And if you think about it, we were doing the math last time, right? But it's just 4 megabits per 720p stream, 8 to 10 megabits for 1080p stream. If you're doing 60 fps and all of that, it's an insane amount of traffic just for the streaming, plus the updates and everything else. It's
I wonder if you guys ever thought about it. There's programmer actually wrote the code for this game, right? It gets compiled and then it gets pushed out at these huge volumes. Do you think this is the largest dissemination of information in human history at one point? Right?
Probably.
I mean, if you think about it, Fortnite is the world's largest dissemination of information in a single time frame. I don't know if that's good or bad or what, but it's just
every day.
It's boggling to think
we
about.
move further from God's light.
The King James version of Fortnite. It's crazy to think about, that a game that we've built a system. All of us here, all of us listening, have built a system where we can disseminate that sort of information at light speed. It's pretty bananas.
Cat pics in Fortnite.
Did you say cat picks porn in Fortnite?
Yes, cat picks porn in Fortnite.
Yeah. The big
One of
3.
my friends
There you go.
WhatsApp me a picture of a presentation. It was days to get 1 million users, or years to get 1 million users, and it's something like I think it was either Pornhub or Xvideos. It took them 19 days, but then it was showing all the other ones like Microsoft, Google, and all that to get to 1 million users. It took them some time, Facebook, but they end up Pornhub, or Xvideos. It's just 19 days, 1 million users.
Do you think in 20 years from now that's where all the political campaigns will disseminate their messages?
Well, the unofficial ones.
You'd reach a broad audience very fast.
Hi,
Depends on if that's your target audience or not.
I think if you're looking at
Bunch of
America, you're
wankers.
probably.
I don't know if it'd be I'm a fan of Trump and I approve that message. I don't know if she'd be saying things like that, or one of her brothers, but you never know,
I mean, just think about it. It's a really good way to reach a mass audience. in a
I
short
am
amount of
thinking
time, is it
about
not?
it. That's why.
Yeah, there you go.
Tom has a Twitch
No.
channel, doesn't he?
The
I don't know if
world.
he's ever used it, but he has a Twitch channel.
All right.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
there was some controversy around it as well, but yeah.
There's
Yeah, I
was-
don't think we'll see him on Minecraft anytime soon.
I was wondering, what forwarding engine are they using in version 7? Are they using VPP, FDIO, and all that type of stuff for version 7 of Mikrotik, or
No idea, Tom.
no idea? All right, no, because actually the VPP stuff, and I remember you, Andrew, were being super, or Mr. Thrift was being super impressed by it a few years ago, and of course I started getting around to it because I just couldn't get the forwarding rates that I wanted through OpenBSD. I need to increase the throughput, and the vector processing looked like pretty impressive, like, where you, instead of switching based on, or routing based on a packet and an interrupt and all that, you actually fill a buffer. Basically, you say, have you another packet for me? Just keep lash them in up to about the vector size being about 256 packets, and then you shove them on. So you're not constantly switching contexts, 3 different processes or different interrupts. So it's actually an interesting concept, which
It's very interesting.
really.
You know, I'm thinking about this big game release update, right? 106 terabits per second. Couldn't they, if we had wider multicast support across the internet, and they just scheduled the update, maybe they have to do a couple different times, but you like tune into the update, and it's like everybody receives it at the same time. Wouldn't that be a lot more efficient?
That's how satellite TV set-top boxes do their updates.
Yeah.
So
Well, I was going to say,
it's
didn't
doable.
they used to send out software programs over the radio doing that sort of thing, like back in the day? Like, everyone, start recording now. Like, here's you're tuning into software broadcast. Like, here's this program we've written. I mean, nowadays it'd be difficult because you've got one person that's on a 1 gig NIC and the other person that's connected 2 rooms away on 2.4 gigahertz wireless. But
we're also right around the corner about talking about, going from the old satellite TV broadcast. Now we're talking about low orbit internet from satellites, right?
Yeah.
So are we going to go full cycle into making that more efficient? Or is it just so much cheaper to use fiber networks across the globe and CDN to just say, we don't need to solve this problem. People can just pay for the traffic. No big deal.
Well, there's a couple of things. The multicast, like, sometimes it's not a fair comparison, like the satellite networks and all that, because they're effectively closed systems. That you control the end device and you control all the communications infrastructure between the transmission and the receiver, pretty much.
Sure.
With the multicast stuff, how many of us run, RPs on our network? How many of us run a full? And as a service provider, being able to try and manage multiple multicast streams simultaneously is extremely difficult and risky for the hardware. In fact, a lot of the, let's say, wholesale service providers, the way they do multicast for our retail ISPs on their network is effectively an MPLS, like an eVPN with layer 2 to each exchange, and that's how they actually manage it. They don't have rendezvous points or anything like that. So it's,
I'm not saying that it would work today. It would definitely take an investment of time and money, and there'd be some coordination, but we have standards. Like BGP is a standard that everybody agrees on.
True.
If we really wanted to put that investment forth, it seems like that would be another way to scale information getting around the world, and both with the updates like this and with the Twitch streams. If you're at 1.5 million users, that's a lot of bandwidth that seems to be wasted, and that's expensive for operators.
They're pushing that out to the edge. That's the goal. Like, we had an issue with Twitch a couple of weeks ago where we had a user that was reporting certain streams wouldn't load properly for them, and we reached out to the Twitch NOC at the time, sort of explaining we've got a direct peering set up with Twitch where we're not seeing any issues on there. There's no congestion between where the user was connected and our Twitch peering point. And they're like, yeah, it's definitely a thing where a user that gets over a certain threshold of people viewing them, the stream gets picked up and then carried to different edge nodes as well. So rather than 100 people pulling down a 2 or 3 meg stream from the US, now you've got 100 people in Australia viewing it as well. So they send the one stream over to Australia and then you pick it up from there. It's like, that is our distributed, that you're getting a multicast stream essentially going to all these edge points and then being distributed out to the people from there. But I don't think that would work in any other medium though, because you can't deal with, like, if you lose a bit of a Twitch stream or something, you can always go back and just start streaming that bit again. Or you just lose it and you just reconnect up at where they are if you're watching live. With the download though, then if you lose that little bit, well, everyone else would be getting the same update. You're the only one that has to go back and request this extra chunk or something.
But actually, Andrew, you mentioned something interesting. For fast channel change on TV distribution, they have a cool thing where, so you have your multicast stream, but if you can imagine, you have to buffer a certain amount of multicast stream before, or video stream, before you can actually render it on the screen. So they do the fast channel change on one of the networks, TV networks that we did work on. They actually had a special box that would actually take, the set-top box would do a unicast request and say, I need the previous 20 seconds pronto as a unicast stream. They'll combine it together, and then you could, so that when you're flicking through your set-top box, it would just, the image would come up straight away. They call it fast channel change. But because you notice on some of DOCSIS boxes, you'll see this fast channel, the channel change can be really slow, and you're like, what? And it's literally that, that buffering.
Yeah.
So maybe that technology could be used as in, or a variation of it, where you actually say, right, okay, I've missed a patch, unicast request that. Of course, as long as it's not too lossy, and then you're just receiving it all by
the big
unicast.
Problem. Yeah.
I think the problem
getting out of sync.
Yeah, I think the problem has been solved by distributing it out to edge nodes and then on distributing it to the end devices. Yeah.
When you're talking about edge nodes, something I've always been curious about is like Netflix has their caching boxes, right? And if you are an ISP of a certain size and you have a certain amount of bandwidth, then they'll shoot you a box that will locally cache stuff in your network, right? So that you're not using your upstream, your transit links. Everybody's reaching from there. I've always wondered, why don't the big CDNs like your Akamai's, your Cloudflares, those guys, why don't they give an option for ISPs to where, hey, spin up a box with so many cores, so much storage, load the software on here, and it just becomes a caching node, right? So there's no
Isn't
expense.
that what Apple does?
They lose the quality of service and control over the service delivery by doing that, Greg.
And also,
Apple tried to do that.
You also need the trust, like you're saying, okay, let's put our intellectual property and run it on someone's hypervisor, and let's hope they won't run a debug or won't do a dump to see what their SSH keys are like. Look, it'll be an appliance or nothing, really, I think is where that's going to be at. But as far as I know, Akamai will put a cache on your thing. I was talking to one of the guys at an Irish meeting, and I think if you're a certain size, and unfortunately we're not there yet, first Ireland, then the world. That's my ambition.
Ireland first? Is that what I heard?
Just every second.
Oh man, I don't like the way that sounds.
So
Bad
omens. Apple used to allow you to have a cache server, and it would run on the Mac OS server, and they had some control over the hardware. But as Mac OS server support dropped off, they switched away from that and went to more of the Windows model of just using end-user hardware and doing peer-to-peer for caching on local networks. And even at that point, they understand what the hardware is. They control certain components of that. If you're offering these vendors a hypervisor, it's going to be a nightmare to troubleshoot and to understand the differences in performance. And
not everyone wants to pay for the same equipment. But with the whole edge thing, there's a good example of doing your own caching that exists even today, which is the large-scale LAN parties. So anyone that does the big sort of 500 plus, like 2,000 computers or whatever that are coming into a space for a couple of days. All of the ones, and I have some friends that manage one that over in Western Australia, they have a cache over there that's specifically designed to grab everything, like grab as much as they can from Steam caches. So they don't have an official Steam cache, but they've built a box that can collect any other parts that are coming through and present it there locally. And they say like, that gets, it's a squid proxy that sits there and it's set up to work with the Steam content that's coming through. So there's an example where you don't have to reach out to the provider, you don't have to get permission to do that, but you can make it part of your network, where you know there is going to be a whole bunch of that specific traffic coming through.
Doesn't that fall apart with the push forward with security to go to HTTPS and
yeah. So there's also some real, I say real hacky, but people pay a lot of money for these. A lot, not the Net Enforcer. A lot has I've forgotten what the product name is, but it's basically a caching engine that could take file chunk signatures. So whether they were Apple updates, whether they were BitTorrent downloads, whether they were your secure HTTPS downloads, and basically interrupt that flow. And I don't condone this because I think it's a terrible way to do this, but it would handle the TCP responses in either direction. And it would say, I've already got this file and all the chunks, therefore I can continue to deliver this to people in the local network. I don't need to know what the actual content of the file is because I have all of the encrypted chunks already, and I just send those and then tell the upstream side that they've been received. It was real, witchcraft in there, sort
kind of man in the middle-y sort of thing.
Yeah, the precursor to it. It's the other issue I think with the edge stuff is like people setting their own DNS servers when if they actually use the ISP DNS servers, you have the geolocation on that. And I know that there are a number of CDNs that would, depending on the server, the IP of the. So if you use 8.8.8, you're dependent on Google, and if they happen to move from Dublin to London, as in, if they're doing maintenance on the Dublin node, they're going to say, oh yeah, we'll give you an English IP, even though there's, let's say, an Irish cache nearby. So there's certainly variances in terms of edge connectivity. Client configuration, and I think the DOH and all that will add complications to that, because obviously if you're using Cloudflare's / Firefox's concoction for that at the moment on trial, you don't get the benefit of those optimized deliveries.
I don't think a lot of people use those anymore, do they?
Pardon?
I didn't think a lot of people were using those anymore, because as I understood it, that because of the upcoming DNS over HTTPS and things like that, providers were more so looking at BGP, the routes that are coming to them via BGP sessions to determine where to send data rather than using the DNS lookup. Because I can point to a DNS server in the middle of nowhere and...
Yeah. Both Netflix and Akamai are doing it based on BGP.
And local caches that basically hijack traffic through either DNS, point your computer to this DNS server which I own, so I can get more analysis on what you are requesting, and also like brute force features like you were mentioning, or brute force solutions like you were mentioning, Andrew. As soon as DOH and DOT, DNS over HTTP and DNS over TLS, as soon as those start being enforced and utilized, en masse, it basically completely kills off any of those solutions, because that's another information point which you are losing, which right now, like, DNS is one of the main identifiers of what the traffic is.
Right.
You can hear in the background the sound of like the analytics salespeople just crying.
Right. But everybody else that loves the privacy are cheering, right?
Yeah.
So what happens if you're using a DDoS mitigation service that's always on, where BGP doesn't necessarily represent where you're at? So now you can't use BGP or DNS to get a correct geolocation, right?
I did want to chime in and make sure that so then there are some things are mentioned about IPs and DNS servers and BGP. Several of the content platforms require that both your IP and your DNS server's IP are advertised via BGP to the cache node. So if you're using an off-net DNS server, you will never use the on-net cache node.
Okay.
Not all of them work that way.
So if you're trying
Some
to
of
use
them
quad
do.
1s or quad 8s or quad 9s or any of those for DNS instead of your local DNS, you're obviously hosed on performance that you would get from the local cache. Is that what you're saying?
On some CDNs. Now, I don't remember which ones because some do and some don't, and I've looked into lots of them, and some of the information is public, some of it's not. So I don't want to say which ones are which just because I
pulling the I'm in the cool guy club card. I see what you're doing, Mike.
Mike, just Mike and Andrew, just to pick up on that point. The BGP advertisement, that works fine, but when you do your initial DNS request, it's not the client making the request, it's the forwarding DNS server makes the request. And so the CDN will give an IP response. Let's say it's called, for argument's sake, youtube.com, or probably a bad example, but let's say facebook.com or something like that. So facebook.com's authority DNS server or their content delivery network's DNS server only can go on the actual request coming from, let's say, Google server to assess which is the closest network to give that response to. While if it was, let's say, my own DNS server in Ireland on Wireless Connect, they can kind of say, okay, well, there's a DNS server working in this AS, and I'm here with them on this. So that's when the BGP and the DNS combines. But, now maybe they're smart and they can do an application level lookup and say, okay, the request came from Ireland, I gave them a server in Hong Kong, I'm just going to do a 302 or a 301 and tell them to a HTTP or HTTP redirect to say, no, go on to this server. And maybe they're doing that. But for the DNS stuff, I think there's still the selection of the DNS server is critical if you're doing the, trying to select the cache that's nearest to you.
I was just looking at, I don't know if you guys have heard of eDNS client subnet. But that's a method of what they do is they include the end user IP address in the data request to the authoritative DNS server. There's a trade-off of hiding the end user's IP for privacy's sake, but the pro side of that is you do still benefit from the cache and the correct CDN location. So
some CDNs support that, some CDNs do
most
not.
of us do QNAME reduction, which QNAME is more of the actual request outbound. Sorry.
But there's a huge push for privacy, right? I mean, I think Mozilla's been a big proponent of that. Everybody wants to be hidden. They don't want their DNS requests to be discovered and pinpointed. So, and then there's the whole draw towards the TLS DNS. So, yeah, it's a real problem.
Well, I think some people care. I think the general public doesn't know, doesn't care. They just want their Facebook, Netflix to
The
work.
ultimate problem as well is, I think a lot of these platforms like Apple or, let's say, Google with your Android phone, they can get around all that DNS stuff by just having some sort of CDN client built into the OS and say, hey, I'm Tom Smith's phone and I'm in Ireland. Give me CDNs in Ireland. So they, and even like if you look at the, let's say the intelligence, any of the leaks that you see from the intelligence community, they're talking about rather than sniffing traffic en masse on the internet. There's a focus, particularly in, let's say, more despotic regimes, to try and put the clients on the people's computers themselves and use the actual computers, the endpoints, to do the sniffing. And and also, let's say, in the enterprise, if you want to do deep packet inspection or not deep packet inspection, deep packet inspection or data leakage prevention, you're effectively looking at clients running on the OS of the personal system, as opposed to trying to do man in the middle on the network. I think there's a certain move towards end-to-end or endpoint encryption and endpoint inspection, or
making sure you load in the HTTPS authority certificates and whatnot in your environment, so you can man in the middle everything that's coming through.
Right.
You definitely can.
Yeah.
The other thing
absolutely.
that's interesting, somebody mentioned with the data analytics people getting upset. The other component of that is, I guess they've gotten really good about having a fingerprint signature for like fraud prevention. So people type with a different cadence on their mobile device than the person next to them. So they're finding more unique ways to pinpoint an individual based on at what speed they type certain letters and what sort of browser version they're using, and sometimes pulling in some other what Wi-Fi mobile networks are around you and all these other things that you can get from apps running on your devices. Right, yeah.
It's gait recognition for your fingers.
So, things are just going to get more sophisticated. If they can't figure out things from where your IP address is located, then they'll find another way.
What was that antivirus signature? If it contains Russian characters submitted as a suspicious file to the antivirus vendor, which looked like a big, nice trawl of intelligence and importance.
Wasn't that Kaspersky that were doing that?
I don't know. I think that was Microsoft, and I think with Kaspersky out of them now, I can't say for certain, but I know an antivirus vendor did it. I can't say if it was Microsoft or Kaspersky. There are certain terms and conditions apply. Contact my lawyers. Legend, but no, it is. But it is. There was, there was a particular trawl, and I think it was, I don't think it was actually Kaspersky in that case. I think it was discovered by Kaspersky. Now, and look, it could have been innocent. It could have been someone saying, "Well, look, there's this malware and it has, some Russian Cyrillic characters or something in it. Therefore, it's suspicious." And maybe it was an overly general signature for hard, but the act of, I think that's one of the things I dislike about antivirus is that it has an incredibly privileged position in your operating system. It has an incredibly privileged, it's more powerful than the administrator. And then there's this automatic virus submission files and stuff like that, or suspicious file submission. It just doesn't
sit
sit well.
How much do you pay for it?
If it's
for them to
if it's free,
how much do you pay
I mean?
for it? So where are they making their money?
Exactly. Yeah, that's
the other part of that too is, so you've got the most privileged access to your machine, and a lot of them are using real-time cloud analytics.
Yeah.
So it's also connected to centralized control.
And they also have web browser
control
plugins that will man in the middle of your HTTPS stuff.
how are they going to protect you from the internet? They'll say, yeah, no, absolutely. But you're right. And it's just certain things like that just don't sit well. Like, sorry, okay. I'm going to dial down the monologues. So, continue. Let's just say, it sucks!
Yeah.
Fair enough. So,
Tom Protect, coming to a computer near you.
Let's move on to my fail of the week. This is probably a pretty common one that everybody thinks of, but for some reason it didn't occur to me. I had a guy who I was doing some system stuff for, and he had an original dude in there who set him up for VLANs 1002 through 1005 on some of their network. We were doing a transition to do some 10 gig stuff. I got him to get a 4948. It fit the bill for a while, and then he was going to make that a core router in this transition process. And as soon as he stuck it in there, everything worked great except for VLANs 1002 to 1005. And then I forgot, because I knew it as soon as I Googled it. Cisco, most of the Catalyst stuff uses VLANs 1002 through 1005 for legacy, say, FIDI and Token Ring. And if you look at it, it basically says unsupported. So it's like act/unsupported. So it basically, in your Cisco kit, 1002 to 1005 are dead. So word to the wise, if you think you're ever going to put some Cisco cat switches in there of some sort, probably avoid those VLANs, and definitely don't throw it into production like that. You're going to have a bad time.
Can I add 128 VLANs? I think 3,000 to 3,128 on Brocade switches are also reserved. Now you can actually move them, so they're nice. But this is for internal Fabric, Magic, Voodoo stuff that they do. But you can actually say, no, move the reserve VLANs. But they do ask you to move the switch if you do that. So yeah, reserve VLANs. So
yeah, it would have been fine in this scenario. It's just I wouldn't have mind rebooting it. It's just there is no option. So it's in the 4948s, most of the Catalyst stuff that I looked at, so it's pretty pervasive. So exercise caution.
Doesn't Tom, maybe you know this better than I do. I'm just diving into Arista a bit, but don't they reserve, 4094 for their MLAG stuff?
The books that I've read, they put 4094. I was a bit anal, and I said I don't like using the default port for anything, so of course I moved mine to 4093. So, yeah, but like you can. So they just do that. I think.
So that's a recommendation. It's not like the 1002 to 1005.
No, you can
set
it.
Okay.
And you can set it, and it's like completely arbitrary, and it's kind of like 1.1.1.1. You know, it's the favorite tunnel endpoint for everyone, and also happens to be Cloudflare's DNS servers. But now.
That's what we use for testing.
That's what I have in all my documentation for diagrams.
Yeah, no, like, and there was, I wouldn't mind that it was an RC for documentation. I think it's 192.0, 192.2.
Yeah,
198.16, 198.18.
Yeah, but I think there's a 192.2. There's another one.
0.1 or something.
Yeah, I think it's like a /24, but I think
it's documentation.
Or test.
I always use carrier grade NAT for my diagrams and stuff because I can't remember any of the special RFC ones. I don't want to Google it. I'm lazy. So another thing that hit me.
192.0.2.0/24 is a documentation test net. There's two others in weird places.
See,
yeah, we use the 198.18, which is I think the testing or experimental space. That's also reserved. We use that one a lot for.
If you want to find out these, stuff. If you look at the OpenBSD BTBD up, they're excluded by default. They list all the RSR. Or you can look at Pogons actually and think. Wikipedia, I could put 8.8.0, 8.8.8.
Or you could go to Google and type in documentation IPs.
You're going to add that to documentation 8.8.8. That's why you should trust Wikipedia. It's almost as bad as forms. No, it's not as bad as forms. At least it's curated in some way. But, oh my god.
I heard about a guy who got backstage to some famous musical act. He edited the Wikipedia page for that band saying that he was like the brother to the lead singer, and then showed the bouncer, and the guy let him in. Brilliant.
And they took him out drinking with them. They were like, "That was awesome." So that was a nice sort of follow up.
It's a
great idea.
Yeah, but it's kind of creepy though. You know, if you're going to edit a Wikipedia page to get date or go up, you know.
I'm totally Taylor Swift's boyfriend. Yeah, please let me.
Absolutely. Which one this week? Yeah, for sure.
Are you
I don't know. Let's check the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, for sure. So another one.
Talking about the catalyst, actually.
Yeah.
And it's the funny thing about it's the 49 series, but it's also the 45 series because it's really the same thing.
Yeah.
Another very interesting thing is they support spanning tree and multiple spanning tree, but not rapid spanning tree. It's very strange, and this differs from different versions of iOS. And also regarding the reserved VLANs, it also differs depending on your model and depending on your iOS version. But on some, even VLANs 1000 through 1005 are reserved, and the other ones are reserved for some VoIP stuff. So it's really rather strange, and you have to look at your documentation at your exact catalyst model and at your exact iOS version of what they do and don't do, and which VLANs are and which aren't reserved.
Yeah.
I don't particularly like those.
I think
catalyst
the 6500 creates hidden VLANs whenever you have certain line cards inserted and it's doing certain special things. I think there's some hidden commands you could issue to find them. But yeah, it's if you do like a show VLAN, it doesn't show them. If you do a special hidden command, you can actually see them in there in use. I can't remember what it is because I ran into it a million years ago and didn't document it, of course.
What's the Cisco command, to not show running? It's like almost export for both in Mikrotik. What's the show including defaults? Show run including the default thing. So it's like for both export and Mikrotik.
I think there's like a show tech and it dumps tons of
that's
stuff.
what I
So
was
you're
thinking
talking about?
No, it's
Because
more,
it gives
more
statistical
like
information.
a running config of the defaults of an interface. So like if the interface defaults a shutdown, it'll actually put that in as well.
Include it.
No, I can't remember. I think you made that up.
No, it's there. There's definitely a command to show kind of.
So another interesting one I ran into this week or last week, I think it was last week. Anyway, it had been an ongoing issue for a while. So we have a lot of different upstreams, and we're peered with Zayo in one place. And we have a customer so the customer BGP peers with us, we peer with Zayo, right? We have multiple upstreams. And all of a sudden, the customer couldn't figure out why we were being the source of like 90% of their traffic. Because they're prepending 9 times to us and prepending none out of their CenturyLink peer. And I was like, well, that's quite interesting. So I did a little digging, started looking in Zayo's looking glass. And when I looked in their Dallas looking glass, right, a looking glass is kind of a peer into a provider's network. It's like a server that just usually has the BGP routes from multiple routers, right? So you could just get an idea of what their route tables look like. Some give you more information, some give you less. But I looked at it, and sure enough, I could see our route with 11 AS path hops along the way, right? And then right underneath that was CenturyLink with 2, and then another one with like 7, another one with like 5, something like that. And sure enough, the longest AS path hop was actually preferred. Looking at it, I could see they had the local preference set to 200, and everybody else was 100. I was like, what's going on there? I'm not coloring. I mean, normally with providers, you could do something like in BGP, you can attach a community, right? It's NLRI that gets attached to a specific route so that you can do something inside their network, but I wasn't doing any of that. So, of course, we started to dance with tech support, and the first person on the phone says, there's nothing wrong, we don't see anything, we can't. So you play this dance and you eventually make your way up, and somebody says, yeah, your local preference is higher. I was like, I know. I've been telling you guys that for 2 days. And so my tech, they're basically saying, they're telling my tech, and my tech, he's kind of a younger guy, and he hasn't quite learned how to not get too spicy with people after a while. You know how it is. He's getting fairly upset, and so I said, you know what we need to do? Let me take care of it. I can get it sorted. So I email our sales rep, and I said, I need you on the phone with your boss and the highest tech you can. And we got on the phone with these guys, and the guy's like, hey, can you just explain to me what happens? And I I explained to the sales guy, because the sales guy didn't know what was going on, said, yeah, you guys are coloring our traffic. You're adjusting the local preference, making it best path when it absolutely should not be for any reason. I mean, we didn't ask for this. And the tech said, oh, yeah, that's a policy we put on everybody by default. And I was like, well, where was that a week ago? Why didn't you tell us that? And eventually they said, well, we could remove it, but, we can't be responsible for what happens. I said, that's fine. It's not on any of the other 8 upstreams I have, so I think we'll be okay. And then they eventually put it into place. I just thought that was bananas. I've never had a carrier arbitrarily, I know what's best for you, and then make these decisions on how my traffic should be shaped and routed, and they would just continually argue with me.
I think they do.
I've been seeing it for years.
Three have done it to me on certain traffic. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Pods would definitely do it, but like they have default preferences, but they're pretty. Like they're like 120 or something like that, and then they'll have, they try to do it. To be fair, it looks like a logical thing to say, like if you're in the same country or stuff like that.
I've seen it a lot on service provider networks. A lot of them will actually have a rule that sets the local preference really high on next hop originated routes. So if the next AS is originating a route, they will take that route and they'll set the local preference higher than everything else on their network to ensure that on-net traffic gets transited directly to that customer to save bandwidth from going out. It's pretty common, and you'll be hard pressed to get them to change it as well most of the time.
Yeah, well, this one, it wasn't originated by us. It was just passing through.
Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
The one I've seen is when you're a direct customer of the transit provider and they do that and they're like, yeah, we take the path of most cost to the customer. I'm like, you're seeing us by IS, but to them,
yeah. Well, just, I stay very calm, very robotic about all of that stuff. When I went on the phone with those folks, and I just said, can you explain to me why that's beneficial for me? And obviously, they had no explanation as to why. Just, well, it's a more direct route. And I said, well, according to your route tables that I'm looking at. You know what the first tech told me was that he's like, yeah, we don't use those looking glass. We never log into them. He was like, I don't even know how to get to it. And I said, well,
wow,
it's on your website. It's a clear indication of. I was just dumbfounded. I was just, I don't. And then that guy, once he finally admitted what the problem was, he goes, "Oh, your original tech's available again," and he pulled the ripcord. He jumped out of the plane and parachuted away and tossed us.
When you're direct transferring customer, obviously, like what Andrew Paxton refers to, is that they will have communities. So when you're getting onboarded with a transfer provider, they'll give you a list of communities. You've got your black hole and ones, your more trigger black holes, but they will have communities for setting prepends, for setting on their side, and also preference and local preference. So you can now they don't give you full control. Like they'll say you can reduce preference by 10 or 20 and stuff like that, increase it by 10 or 20. They won't say, "Oh, set it to 220 or something."
Yeah. Well, you know what I found amazing was they said, well, you just need to adjust prepending. And I said, but this isn't in my control. This is customers. I don't want to flavor their traffic, right? I want them to be able to handle it. And then he also said, once we got to them, well, it usually starts like weight, then local preference, and then there's a couple more than path link. But this guy was telling me, also, we have, there's a community you can send which will adjust your local preference. I was like, well, great. Well, then we'll just reset it back to 100 like everybody else. He goes, no, that's not an option. You could do 60.
They block that.
You could do 60 or 220. I was like, that's not, I want to be just like, I want to be treated like everybody else. I was like, sorry, that's not an option. I was like, that's cute. Give me a minute. I bet we can work this out.
Something I'll raise here, when you're choosing a transit provider or a wholesale upstream, make sure that they have those BGP communities, because I've worked with multiple ISPs that have had low-cost transit services that don't offer those communities. Yes, they are one of them. And you get really stuck. You basically have no control over your traffic flow anymore.
they're selling real cheap transit in Australia at the moment, but it's no use if all your traffic's tromboning out to America and then back to Australia, is it?
Yeah, it just...
Which provider is that again?
What's that?
Which provider is that, to let me ask?
Hurricane Electric is one of them. But I find the people with the best BGP communities are generally IXs. Like, they have every incentive to give you those sort of options. And I don't want to advertise to this person. I don't want to receive anything from this. Mm-hmm. Whereas transit providers are a mixed bag, so...
Yeah.
NTT and Zayo are pretty good.
Yeah, Talia's got a lot of good communities as well.
Yeah. Well, when you have Schneider's on your staff, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've never had a carrier try to make me feel like a child, and they know what's best for me before. I don't know, I wasn't accustomed to that sort of thing, and wasn't exactly pleased with it, so that was interesting.
So then, were they passing this on? Like,
nah, they were still advertising.
That
they were still advertising that out. It's just
others?
Everything that came into their network. So this customer, it just so happened that most of the traffic was originating through Zayo. So it was becoming best path.
Okay. I was gonna say because like that. Okay, I was gonna say because that shouldn't have made that much of a difference if all if their traffic was uniformly sourced throughout the internet.
And normally,
it shouldn't have made that big.
Yeah, I was gonna say normally this isn't a problem. It's just they were
a
95th percentile customer, and then they started getting bills for it like $800 a month in overages. So it's kind of upsetting to them.
Sure.
And that's why the providers do it this way.
Yes. So.
They also, I think, as well to get, settlement free peering and all that type of stuff where between major carriers because they don't want to be transit for each other.
Yeah.
So they're trying to, force that the traffic is almost equal, like, even though it's like.
I get it.
Ridiculous from everyone else's point of view.
Excellent. All right, we are reaching the hour and a half mark, so let's. You guys want to end on a fun one? Let's see. Nvidia has the Shield for streaming. Aren't you a big fan of that, Thrift? Isn't that your thing?
Yeah, they're good. Yep,
that's
they're good.
mine
you
too.
plug
Yeah,
them in and they work.
Mine too.
Golly.
Get over their air updates, which you don't get on a lot of other Android boxes. You just plug it in, it works. It's 4K. Good.
And there's a new version. New version just came out this week too.
New hardware version.
Yeah. Yep, new hardware with a Tegra X1 Plus processor and 3 gigs of RAM and a new redesigned remote control.
So
and Dolby Vision is supported now.
Why should
too.
I want to go to one of the Nvidia Shields over my Roku? What's the advantage there?
It doesn't have to transcode most streams. It just plays them direct. Like if you're doing plex through it, it's direct play all the time. So it's less bandwidth. It's less difficult for the remote server to stream that to you.
And
so
how are they about
quality's better?
Open source firmware and stuff like that? NVIDIA.
They do a really great job keeping up to date. The updates are pretty frequent for software.
It's an Android box, so you're not gonna like be opening it up and putting. If you want to do that, get a Raspberry Pi or something.
Right.
But if you wanted to, you could.
But they do a pretty good job, I think, keeping up with the Android TV.
No, it's just the.
How's the remote on it?
It's also a great emulation box. So if you like to emulate any kind of game systems, it's really great at that too. So.
Yeah. It has the same processor as a Nintendo Switch. It's identical, so it's pretty powerful.
The controller that comes with it is pretty decent too, I found.
Yep.
So this isn't something you'd give your grandma, right? You're going to give her the Roku? Or is it actually that easy to use?
It's that easy to use.
It's easy.
Yeah.
There's a TV edition, which is like the one without the controller. It's just for the streaming parts, right?
Well, and they've got the different remotes. So they've got their remote that's more of a standard handheld version, and it's that and the other remote both have microphones in it, so you can navigate pretty easily with microphone instead of having to dance around on the direction keys to get to what
Also,
you want.
it listens to you.
And the global search is pretty good.
Nice.
You can turn that on or off. Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a HD home run box and you're taking like over the air cable, or if you have a cable card in it and you're watching TV through that, then if you have one of these, it'll actually have the channel lineup as a whole section in it. It has a really good integration with HD home run.
I
do
have an exciting addition. The Google Stadia as well. That's coming
Debian.
out. I've got one of those coming next week.
I heard their platform runs on Debian, so we're going to see probably more Linux games coming out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Talk about using a lot of network bandwidth. Now you can use the bandwidth to stream the experience remotely and then still twitch it back the other direction.
Shield has that now. They have the Nvidia game stream, so you can rent like Borderlands 3 now and play it on the Shield over the internet.
That's crazy.
Streaming.
The thing nowadays is a lot of games are targeted to run on Android and iOS, so they've already got Linux or Unix and OpenGL support. So it's become trivial to run them on Linux anyway, which is why Steam's game library for Linux is so large now.
And not just that, but Lutris, which is basically a game launcher for Linux, especially with Proton, the new compatibility layer, and Vulkan APIs. It's like these days you can run just about any game on Linux without emulation, pretty much natively. Like if you open the Lutris library, it's tens of thousands of different. And you just click a button. You click one button, it runs a script, pulls it to the Lutris launcher, and runs it for you. There's been huge progress on the Linux side, and
there's a lot of games that run really well just in the browser, even running Unity or things like that.
Quick shout out to Blizzard as well, who's been running World of Warcraft and Diablo and all of those across Windows and Mac for years as well, which Macs weren't the gaming PC of choice for a very long time. And now my wife can sit down and play Diablo with me on her computer without me having to build her a Windows box. It's like,
well, I think Blizzard cut their teeth on like Mac OS 8, so they've been around on the Mac platform for a real long time.
As for an alternative to those shields, I run a Xiaomi Mi Box S for my projector. It's also a really nice box. Much cheaper, but it's got a Chromecast Pro integrated. Yeah, it's got voice remote and all of that as well. And the nice thing is they actually do keep up with Android TV updates as well. Like there's a new update monthly. But if you don't like that, you can easily run Kodi or Elec on it. You just put it on there and it just works.
So the user interface on the Xiaomi TV Box S and the Nvidia Shield is identical. They're just Android TV.
Yeah, exactly.
The benefit you get on the Nvidia one is, I guess, the codec support, and you can play games on it and stream games from any PC with an Nvidia card in it.
Yeah, the Nvidia integration is definitely sweet, but yeah, like codecs.
That's part of it. Yeah.
But yeah, it can also play natively through Plex just about anything. I haven't yet seen anything in my Plex library that would need to be re-encoded and transcoded around.
There is a bit of a price difference there. I think the Xiaomi one's $60 and the Nvidia one's $199. So.
Yeah, there's a big difference there.
Well, the yet to be announced new hardware that was accidentally already being sold, I imagine that will drive the price down on the current / old generation, right?
The 2017 model.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. All right, you guys ready to reflect? This is quite literally the 100th episode, and it's been over 7 years. We started this over 7 years ago. When I say us, I'm talking about Cox. It was Cox and I sitting across from each other on Skype. It's gone through many iterations. It's gone through a lot of different people. This group has grown tremendously outside of what I could have ever imagined.
Got better looking.
Absolutely. Seasoned, like a fine wine. I've gotten balder, becoming more myself. I'm just going back to my infancy. I'm Benjamin Buttoning it. That's what I am. Just going bald. All my teeth are going to fall out. I'm going to be in diapers soon. So we're good. And that's just my kink. That has nothing to do with me getting older either. So. But no, I've made a ton of amazing friends over all of this. I have learned so much from all of you guys. It's been interesting. I know there's like I can't remember what movie it was, but some guy says to another guy, I know you've got a lot of friends, but I don't. So this actually is important to me. And this group has actually made me far less socially awkward and expanded my life. I think I've become a better human through you guys. Sometimes when Mikey's around, worse human. But all right, doing your part for humanity. But for everybody who's ever been a part of this, and for all of you guys that listen, you are 100% a part of this. And all of you guys that are in the Slack, you're a part of this. So for that, I thank you guys. Appreciate it. I don't know what else to say. Anybody have any reflections?
I just pulled up our webpage and went to the earliest episodes, and you and Andrew are on the first one, and then we had on the second one a week later, back when we were doing them every week. It was Andrew, Greg, JJ, Boyd, myself, and Wilson.
There you go. This group was strong. It really started as I wanted to be able to get together with you guys on a regular basis, and then why not record it and share it for posterity? And it's kind of grown from there. I'm curious to see if we'll still be doing this in another 7 years for another 100 episodes. I guess we'll get to 200 before then. But
I think it's pretty awesome that not only does it get you kind of out of your bubble of people that you work with day in and day out, it gets you out of your local friends and family, out of your community. This is really a worldwide community of people, and without this, I wouldn't have that. And I think it's really awesome to be able to see different perspectives from different environments and different cultures that literally goes around the world.
Quite literally. I mean, we've got all kinds of weirdos.
People everywhere.
But you know, it's funny you say that. I mostly work from home now, so virtually the only human interaction I have is my kids who never do their homework, which is a nightmare. And then I've got my wife, and then I've got you guys. I mean, that's pretty much the only human action I get on a regular basis. So you guys do a lot for my mental sanity. Believe it or not, I know that seems counterproductive with certain individuals. But, I mean, I love it. I love it. Like, usually the mouthier you are, like, Ollie, always saying the crazies. Of course, he's in such a cold environment. I don't see how that doesn't drive you insane. And then, of course, all the Australians have their brains boiled out there in the heat. So it's just, I don't know. It's an interesting collection of people. And then you've got Tom Smith, who's a conundrum unto himself.
But it's Ollie. He's from Norway, so he's welcome in the United States by all accounts.
That's right. That's right. We're actively pushing out the Australians. It's a whole group of people that don't even know what a knife is.
There's 84,000 messages on the Little Brother Slack, and there's an average of about 70 active users in any day reading, and about 43 who post. And there's currently 120 members.
That's cool.
I think I heard the recent stat on our YouTube views. We've got like 1,900 followers there.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool.
So thanks.
Join us on the Little Brothers, right?
Thanks, guys, for inviting me in on it as well. That's pretty nice.
Well, it's funny that you're always invited and you choose not to come. So,
Tom's kind of a big deal.
He's got other things to do at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, no, there was... Well, actually, what's interesting, we can go on for another hour, and according to my clock, it just went back. So it's now 1:04, even though... Like,
oh, there you go.
I love this daylight savings time thing that we do every year, which is just... I just wanted it to be permanently, so they won't do it yet.
Just move over here.
Yeah.
for like half of the year.
So does your clock fall back at a different time than the rest of us?
Yeah, I think, because I remember being in Florida around March a year ago, and it was only 4 hours behind, and then it went back to 5 hour difference from the Eastern time. So, but like, I mean, by being so close to the home of the British, what was the British Empire, Greenwich was shared with Dublin. So now I think.
Does that mean you don't get to say you're British anymore? Is that?
Yeah, as of almost 98 years ago. Yeah. And, they're leaving. We're having their leaving drinks on next Thursday. Assuming that I believe that they're going to postpone it again.
Well, aren't you guys coming up on the deadline for that? Aren't you going to end up at like a no deal Brexit thing or something?
No, I think so Boris Johnson said he would never sign the letter, so he didn't sign it, but he sent the letter saying he wants an extension. And then he sent another letter which he signed, and he says he thinks the extension will be a bad idea. It's just a little box. It's actually terrible. It's really embarrassing. I actually feel bad for my British friends and European friends, because I am absolutely sick of it, but I don't want them to crash out. Some of them want to crash out, even though they don't realise it's kind of like saying it's like suicide or bruicide, as one of my German friends used to call it. But yeah, Brexit sucks. End up. Moving on.
Yeah, fair enough.
There is a good joke that we will now just start EA, the European Alliance, because it's just and the British will stay in EU because it's just easier.
Good times.
I want to throw a couple other stats out there. So we've got 218,492 YouTube views, then including the videos that Greg uploaded to his channel. I think I did that once or twice as well. 1,908 YouTube subscribers. We've got 2,515 Facebook likes, 2,747 Facebook follows. I don't know why you would follow us and not like us, but whatever. And we have 80 Twitter followers. I just started that a few months ago.
Go on here. Mike has mentioned SFP's 476.
Wait, we had a counter going on that?
476,000 times.
It's a drinking game. You start from the beginning.
I was trying to find how.
Every time Mike mentions SFPs, take a drink.
Well, I mean,
and how many of those SFPs were actually shipped out? Do we have a counter on that too?
No.
Lord.
Come to Mike's house.
Actually, an evil idea for vendors is if you could mislabel the SFPs going to Mike Hammett, so put like 1510 and 1530 on 1310 nanometer SFPs, send it to Mike Hammett. Absolutely, actually no, and all the DWDM, just mix them all up totally for testing.
Is our most popular video still the version 7 leak video?
Pulling that up now. I was getting some other stats. People have watched our videos for 1,354,208.
Sounds like a waste of time to me.
It's crazy.
Let me see here. Sort by most popular.
Wasn't that version 7 video the one where somebody commented and said it was fake? Didn't we get multiple of those?
We got a lot of that. Fake. It's fake CGI. Like, okay.
You're multi-hood.
Well, technically speaking, the Brothers Wisp channel's most popular video is the Greg Solo multi-homed BGP video at 22,000 views.
And then
and then it's the Router OS V7 BGP CCR performance.
And coming in third place.
Views.
What?
The who?
3 views. They're all you, Tom.
Whatever. He watches it weekly.
That's just like the BSD channel in Slack. Some
Yeah.
weeds.
It's just crickets occasionally.
You just hate.
4,300 views. 4,300 views on the BST Can 2017.
I have an interview with Theo Durat actually. I have to edit it and I'll upload that. And
Why
I have
would
one
you-
with Bob Beck as well.
Why would you need to edit it, Tom? You never say anything controversial.
It's edited for time, you know.
Oh.
It's I get to bill it and expense it to my expense account. I had to watch it frame by frame. So it's like 30 frames per second. You can expense quite a bit of time with that. I know.
Fair
So
enough.
That'd be a good stat. How much of Tom's rants we've had to cut out of videos?
Well, all I can say is
Probably
say what
just
you
as
mean
much as
and mean
the
what you say.
view nut count.
Yeah.
So that 18,000 messages that you said we have in Slack, how many of those are single, like words?
One word messages. Oh man.
Oh, you mean?
Well, actually, not too
Ouch.
many because Tom doesn't talk a whole lot in a little.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm sorry about that, guys. I actually just realized, and then when Greg was saying that chatting to us all in Slack makes his mental health better, and then I started feeling really guilty. I'm like, shit, I need to be signing in more often. But I have it set not to start automatically because I don't like these things that take control away from me on my computer. So I realized that my brothers might need me on Slack more. So sorry about that.
So to put things in perspective, so while we've had our own internal Slack for a few years longer, there's only 12 people in our internal Slack.
Yeah.
And it's at 101,000 messages. We've had the Little Brothers for a year, and it's at 84,000 with 100 some people in there.
That's the Tom effect.
Yes. Noting that Tom has been more active in the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, that one's all but abandoned. Everybody's moved to the Little Brothers, which I like, right? So all of that, all of the good stuff ends up there for everybody.
That's helped the message count on the other one for sure.
I'll just put one message there now. Sorry. One line.
Are you doing it through a browser? Are you not using the client?
No, I'm using the client.
Oh,
but when I'm on the OpenBSD, I use the browser because they don't have a Slack OpenBSD browser.
Yeah, fair enough.
Client at the moment.
You're using OpenBSD for your machines?
I do when I'm on holidays, when I want to learn a bit more and do a bit more with Open, because get immersed and then really understand US. But it's actually pretty fast. There's so much non-bullshit. It's not loaded in.
It's where all the gray hair's coming from.
Wait, hold on. So you go on vacation and use a different operating system?
Yes. Well, the main reason is that someone goes, "Have you that file handy?" And I'm like, "No, I'm putting it into OpenBSD." And they go, "Oh." And I said, "So you want me to close all my browser windows now, shut down, rebuild, open up Windows to get that file?"
I have another.
Enjoy your holiday. I'll catch you later.
Another weird statistics here. It took 100 podcasts for Andrew, Thrift, and I to be on one together.
Did it really? Interesting.
We weren't going to tell you, Justin, but
Yeah.
Did you guys see that on our Wispapalooza 2018 wrap-up video, we got about an hour and a half of JJ?
Yeah, we had JJ on it.
No, I haven't even
good.
watched that thing.
JJ's cool.
I was too jealous. I didn't want to see it. I saw those
reminded
those
him
pictures
that
of you
we were
guys
doing this today.
popping up on
So.
Facebook, and I was like, it bothered me. I was like, damn it, I wanted to be there. But next time.
I sent him a
way,
text
guys,
about this. I reminded him, so.
guys, if you ever want me on Slack
Hit other
and
plans.
I'm not on it, just email me. Just say, get on Slack. Yeah.
So I'll set an
Just start-
automatic thing to send every day. Get on Slack, biatch.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
start talking in the OpenBSD channel, and then like Tom's ears will just start ringing, and he'll just know.
Okay. All right. Let's stick a fork in it, boys. What do you say? All right.
It's well done.
All right. Let's do the
Likewise.
thing. Let's do the thing. Mikey, if people want to get a hold of you out on the internet, by chance, how would they go about that?
Go to the Little Brothers Slack, patreon.com/thebrotherswisp. That way then someone else can help
Nice
you
plug.
because I'm busy.
Yeah. ABC, always be closing, boy. Tom Smith, if people want to hear your dulcet tones, if they want to hear you rant about random things, how do they get a hold of you?
Slack, the Brothers Wisp, Little Brothers Wisp, Slack channel, LinkedIn.
Didn't we just talk about how you're not there?
Yeah, but now I'm going to be there. Okay? This time it's different. And I'm also
all you gotta do is put up-
Mastodon on the BSD.network Mastodon instance, and I'm on Twitter, and I'm on LinkedIn. I deleted my Facebook profile in protest at all. You know, I was being stalked by all these women, and I just had to delete.
Your wife, your grandma, your mom. Yeah, it's terrible.
They're just bots.
They're bots? Oh, that's
They're
what
bots.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I love that on Twitter, you know. You kind of go, wow, that's a really attractive person. And it's like 2 followers. You're like, oh, bot. Jeez. I mean, could they not be more sophisticated and have, like...
The bots follow the bots.
Yeah, and have,
Yeah.
like, a credible, like, you know, chatting about, like, collecting
Some
the messages
backstory.
from the store. Just here, you know, what you call those farms? Troll farms. Take note. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it. But yeah, and you can email me, tom.smith@wirelessconnect.eu. European Union, that's what EU stands for.
Gotcha.
And Smith with a Y because I'm awkward and I have to bother to set up an alias with an I, because if you can't spell my name correctly, you do not deserve to have me read your name.
All right, Tomothy, where's the next conference or event you're going to that people can meet you in person at?
Oh,
VSD.
BSD can definitely. I'll be going to. I might go to WISP America.
The one in Dallas?
Yeah.
All right, boy. I'm
Come on,
talking.
bring it on.
Mike needs to get me on a panel or something, and I'm gonna go to that.
Mike, you going to get me in a panel? We can talk about OpenBSD.
They want people to show up, so.
Yeah. Yeah. These presentations start at 8, so I don't know if that's gonna work for you.
Well, we can do the afternoon slot. Pretty good at that.
Okay. Mr. Alex Hart, if people want to get a hold of you out on the wild web, how would they do that?
Definitely Little Brothers Wisp. Hit us up on Slack.
All right. It's Alex Hart at AOL.com. You heard him.
No.
All right. Let's go way over there to Andrew Thrift, the man.
You can find me on Little Brothers Wisp Slack, as well as on LinkedIn or on Twitter at PushPopSwap.
Push Pop Swap. That's cool.
Or
You're a
at
cool
an
guy.
All Blacks match where they lose.
You can't talk, Tom.
I can't. No. I cannot talk. It hurts.
Yeah, it's still fresh for me, mate.
Are you guys
Here
talking
we go.
about rugby? Is that where you're at?
Yeah.
I
You gotta
actually
come
watched
over
some
to
of the world was it the World Championships or whatever, the World Cup of rugby.
Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, there you go. I had zero idea
Yeah.
what was going on, but halfway through it, I kind of had it figured out. It wasn't terrible. It was mildly entertaining.
It's no pickleball.
It was great to see Japan come on so good. Like, I know they bet the Springboks previous World Cup, but they really did good. They bet Ireland, you know, and they bet as well. Like, it was, you know, because Ireland was ranked number 1 in the world coming into the tournament, although people were questioning it.
Sure they were.
They were actually, but then there was a few people going, these rankings are wrong. Ireland is number 1. How can this be? So, like, you know, but we were definitely off form. But the All Blacks are the team. Are you going to come to the test matches when we're over in Ireland?
I should come to them.
Yeah,
It's a
Fortnite
reason to come.
Yeah, and just say to Fortnite, you need to expand your marketplace in Ireland and maybe have an event, corporate events. Just an
Somehow
idea.
get one of the Australian engineers to come over, right?
Absolutely. Could I?
Okay, let's see. Thomas Kiernak, if people are going to get a hold of you on the internet, how do they do that?
Yeah, as usual, just Google for me. There's all the social networks and stuff. And of course, always, there's Unimus. So Unimus.net. And we have live chat. Ask for me. I'm there.
That's right. Thomas is the heart and soul behind Unimus. So jump out there, take a look at it. It's the bomb. Mr. What's your name again? Justin Miller? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
How do people get a hold of you?
I have a blog, dynstatic.net, dynstatic.net, and I'm on the Little Brother Slack. I'm on Facebook. So.
You sound so depressed about all of that. You got to put a little energy in your voice.
Little Brother Slack is the way to get me.
Boy!
Best way. Boy, yeah, just like
when
that.
you see Dynstatic,
I'm on there.
the fact that you have to spell it tells you how bad it is.
It's like dynamic static. That's where I came up from it, Dynstatic. So
Man, somebody's
just trying to
salty
make sure.
down there. Golly.
Some people think it's dynastic or something like that, and there's no A right there.
That's your stripper name, right? Dynastic?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh man.
I love the look on your face right now. All right, Andrew Cox, you have a friend who said hello and then never anything else. Does she not know that you just have to interrupt? You just have to break in there?
Dive in there.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get you back to Regalis with some Cisco
Thank you
stories.
for having me the 100 episode.
I'm sorry we put you to sleep on the 100th episode.
Did not. Loved it.
Yeah, it's hard to get a word in edgewise when Tom's on a cast. Just put that out there. All right, Andrew and friend, how do we get a hold of you out on the internet?
Before you say,
so I'm on. What?
Sorry, don't be talking about it and interrupting. It's really rude. Just wanted to give a shout out to Justin because he did literally save my life with sleep apnea, even though I ignored him at the time. Even though and in fairness, Greg, you did tell
Yes.
me about it.
Yes, I was sleeping next to a trash compactor.
Keto. You got to do keto now, and that'll also eliminate that completely, and then
but I have to say
skinny,
the sleep apnea
skinny like me.
It's been life changing for me, and started kind of feeling a lot better. And so I just have to say that my brother's WISP colleagues did look out for me and tried to warn me, even though I ignored them for about 2 years, which I profoundly regret. Anyway.
Routing packets and saving lives.
There you go. Boom. Sorry, back
right.
to you. Sorry for interrupting me again.
Cox and Serena, if people are going to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
You weren't sorry at all.
I'm excited to be here and be alive. No, I'm in the Slack as well. I sometimes don't see things at the same time as everyone else because obviously a different time zone. Otherwise, grab me admin at mikrotik-routeros.com. No official.
Total affiliated. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I had someone message
Should we
me
send
that
you our feature requests?
Yeah. They're like, can you help me with Mikrotik support? Are you Mikrotik support? I was like, no, it literally says on the top of the banner, like, unofficial Mikrotik-routeros. Like,
no, you just say,
big on
send me your bank routing details, your name, your home address. Happy to take care of it.
I don't want to get in that sort of trouble.
Yeah.
I would like a nice holiday, though.
You're also a mod on the Mikrotik subreddit, aren't you?
That is correct. So there is a Mikrotik subreddit, which I don't moderate as often as I should. I just tell people to be good to each other, and sometimes they're not, and they have to kick people out.
Isn't there that one guy who keeps coming back into it? He's haunting you.
There is one European guy. I know it's the same guy that keeps coming back with different accounts every 6 months, and he uses the same insults. So you can tell it's him. Like,
is it all variations on the name Tom Smith? Are they anagrams?
It's not.
Like if you were to mix up the letters of Tom Smith.
No,
it's just a theory. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Guy.
I mean, just
no. Look, I like to be politely insulting. I don't think that comment.
So when did that start?
Adds value.
This is a new development.
Things like that, or it just doesn't add value. Maybe you should reconsider.
Oh, Lord,
maybe you should think about that one again.
All right, if you want to get a hold of me out on the internet, I've got a website, gregsoul.com. I very occasionally blog there. I'm also greg@gregsoul.com. If you want to throw me an email, you can email me or contact us at the Brothers WISP if you have any questions, comments, anything you'd like to see. You want to see, behind the scenes footage of Tom adjusting his light. Trust me, you don't want to see that. We've all seen it. It's tattooed on my retinas at this point. It's haunting me. Haunting.
A kind of a tangent from that.
Look, lads, just a bit.
This is what you get in the Slack. Wait, don't show them that. They've got to pay for it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Who's going on the tangent?
Visual indicator cut.
I know it. I was gonna say. We have had people ask us to go to other conferences and do videos there. So if you have any other conferences you think we should be going to, let us know. And then we can then ask for vendors to sponsor us to go there, because I can't go to all these things. We'll find someone to pay to go there.
Yeah. I'm trying to get a little bit more mobile, a little bit more to those things in the coming year. Let's see what happens. So if you want to support us, patreon.com/thebrotherswisp. You can get access to Little Brothers with Slack, where all of these awesome people, no doubt, awesome people, my best friends in the whole world. True story. I never get to see them nearly enough. Hopefully I'll get to see them soon. So anytime I miss a conference, I legitimately feel crappy, because I really do miss an opportunity to be with my friends. So that sucks. But for all of you guys listening, for the weirdos that like to watch on YouTube, I'll forgive that. That everybody's got a weird thing they like to do that they're not exactly proud of. Anyway, questions, comments, keep them coming, keep listening. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you at the next conference, I guess. Nobody's going to be at BSDCon, though. Sorry, Tom.
I'm sorry, but there was one, and I'm actually going to
Visual indicator cut.
A guy came up to me at the BSD can. He goes, "Tom, how you doing?" And he was like, and he goes, "Oh, watch Spurs WISP." And when Mike is giving me hassle, he goes, "Don't." He didn't say Mike specifically, but he says, "Don't let the lads give you hassle. You know what you're talking about." Boom.
You got that.
Was there another Tom behind you?
Did you have to do this guy's name, or did you make this all up?
But he came up and he shook my hand, and it was kind of cool. But interestingly enough, I only met him at the closing ceremony of the BST can.
Were you drunk, and then it turned out to be like a fern in the corner that you were talking to? It was on your head, sort of.
That's his ringtone now. It's like,
I was not.
You know what you're talking. Don't listen to us.
You're good enough. You're smart enough.
In the morning.
People like you.
I got to send photo evidence,
This was so profound that you had to document it. I get it.
I was like, I was going. Someone not giving me shit for a chance. I was like, okay. No, he could have been sarcastic.
Oh. All comes crashing down.
Okay. How much did you have to pay him, though?